Hello again, Airsofters. This is StarCorpsProductions. Today I thought I'd do something a little different than just an airsoft review. Today, as you can see, there's a gearbox in front of me. Today, I'll be looking at the gearbox for the AGM STEN MK.II. So, or as some call it, the Mark II version 2. The only difference being, in the version 2, instead of a LiPo, it comes with an 8.4 volt stick battery, as you can see. And this goes in the stock, in the tube, which has been hollowed out. So, that's pretty much the only difference. The gearbox is the same, so that's what we're looking at today. This isn't a video just for you guys to see what it's like, the gearbox, but it's also, I have a goal, and that is to figure out what's wrong with it. I've opened it up several times with no success. Those of you who know more about it, I'm going to hook up the battery here. Those of you who know more about gearboxes than me, when you see this, if you know what's wrong with it, maybe you could help me know. So here's the gearbox hooked up to the battery, and when I pull the trigger, instead of cycling, this is what happens. As you can see, the actual mainspring doesn't. The only spring that is pulled back is that little spring in there. So the front here, as you can see, just does this. And that's all that happens. So I'm going to try and endeavor in this video to figure out what's wrong with it. And show you some of the internals of the gun. So let's get started. Well, first things first, and that's to take off the case, the shell here. So I'm going to use one of these little Duracell screwdrivers. Now these things are actually pretty good. The screwdrivers that come with guns are generally not high quality. They'll strip your gears, or not your gears, your screws. This little Duracell thing actually works pretty well. So I'm going to use this to open up my gearbox. Start by undoing some screws. Let's see here, loosen these up. So as you can see here, I've removed the motor portion of the gun, which is one of the things I kind of like about this. Unlike version 2s and version 3s where the wiring's entwined with all the gears, this, you just simply undo 2 screws and then this whole unit's free. Now I've already determined that this is not the problem, so for the sake of this video, I'm just going to set this off to the side. So what we're going to focus on right now is this part of the gun. Alright, so now I'm going to take off the shell casing, but before I can do that, I have to take off this little piece here with these pliers. So I've finally gotten this thing to come off, so I can just pull that off, set that off to the side. Now let's open up the gearbox. So as you can see, I've got the this top portion of the gearbox removed. There you can see the bushings. The rear bushing here for the bevel gear is actually metal, but for some reason these 2 bushings for the sector and spur gear are plastic. So bushings aren't extremely great. They're kind of a cheap plastic, but they get the job done, so to speak. So anyway, so here we are. The gearbox is all taken apart. First thing is the spring guide, cylinder, and piston. The spring first. It's a pretty weak spring. Anyway, the spring guide is plastic, so a little bit cheap there. The piston is plastic, as are the teeth on the piston, which are already showing a little bit of wear. And the piston head is also plastic, which is a bit disappointing. The tappet plate is just sort of cheap plastic. It's not very good. I don't like it. It feels like it might break. So if you want to upgrade this gun out of the box, a good piece of advice might be go for a new piston and tappet plate. Alright, so we got the gears here. Bevel gear, nothing special. It's quite standard actually. The sector gear, also very standard. The gears are metal, so it's pretty nice. It's sort of nice, I guess. And then also, get this guy out, the spur gear. Put the spur gear in. It doesn't spin very freely, which is a bit disappointing, which is of course a result of the plastic bushings. And then when you put them together, they move, I guess, kind of nicely. Not very nicely though. And then the bevel gear right here, put that in. The whole system doesn't work extremely well. As you can hear, it's a lot of metal sound. It needs some lubrication, but the gears do their job, which is what is important. So, moving on. Well, actually, that's pretty much it for the internals of the gun. But other than that, the internals of this gun are all fairly solid, I suppose. So let me assemble this gearbox back together and see if I can get this thing to work. So here we are again. I've got this gearbox all back together. I spun the gears with my finger in the back here, and anti-reversal latch seems to be functioning, and the gears seem to be functioning. My first thought was that the gears were not we're not getting the piston attaching to the piston, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So we'll try it out. Last thing is this little spring here, which is kind of weird because it has to go in that little slot in there. So I just have to feed that in. Alright, here we are again. As you can see, that little spring is in there now. So let's hook up this to the battery, the motor with the pinion gear right there. We'll hook that up to the gearbox and see if that works. Just to prove that, not really to prove, but to show that how I found this wasn't a problem, was if I hook the battery up. This is getting kind of weird. There we go. So if I hook the battery up to this, there's the pinion gear. So that works. So let's just hook that up to the gearbox here, which is extremely simple. If I flip all this stuff over, all I have to do is this, pretty much. There you go, and then I just screw it in. So, let me take care of that. It's got these little screws here, which you just insert there. So let me put this here so you can see. And we're done. The gearbox is fully reassembled, hooked up to the battery. Let's see if this thing can pull back a spring. Let's give it a go. It works. Looks like I fixed the gun. Thanks for watching, and yeah, rate, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, that's about it.